to Hearts and Heals, where we are healing hearts one show at a time. We're your hosts, Yolanda Kelly and Shay Robinson. Thank you so much for tuning in. If you'd like to call in, 334-269-6785 is that number. 334-269-6785. Shout out to our social media listeners, Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube at Hearts and Heals, the number one. Remember, you can always go back and watch and share and hang out with your girlfriends and your homies and just chat away. Thank you so much. Comment, like, share. Yolanda Kelly, how's it going today?
Hello, it's wonderful. It's wonderful. A little rain is out there, and so we need a little rain today.
Little rain. It's always good to have a little rain.
Yes.
Tonight's show is all about why do people cheat. We're having an amazing time talking about the dynamics of cheating. It is such a thing that we're dealing with in all aspects of life and love and relationships. Why do
people cheat? This is something that we have thought about, and this is a good subject that we wanted to talk about why do people really cheat. And so tonight we're gonna come from all perspectives, or try to come from all perspectives on why do people cheat. And so Shay, let's start thinking about it.
So the very first thing I did as we were talking about this show, because it can be such a dynamic topic, a lot of times we don't define what is cheating. Like, if you really think about it, there's so many different people look at cheating so many different ways. And the main thing, what I've noticed in every single form, is there's a level of dishonesty.
There is. And so are you saying that there first has to be some type of signs before we really know or can accuse a person of cheating? Is that what we're saying?
I think it's all about establishing, what is cheating. In the normal sense, we all think we have a definition. Some people think texting is cheating. Some people think flirting on social media is cheating. Some people think, of course, sexual intercourse or anything intimate of that nature is cheating. Some people think kissing is cheating. So I think it's all about just defining where's that cheating, where's that line, where's that intimacy moment crossed.
Yeah, well, here are some things that you mentioned about cheating. Some of those things that you mentioned, I would think that we would all probably say that they are cheating. Now, texting, maybe it depends on what you're saying through those text messages. And so one of the first modes of perhaps potential cheating is a lot of communication. Because if you are in a relationship and you're having some outside conversation with another person, and that it kind of builds to something. And a lot of times we don't know that once you communicate with a person a lot, then eventually you're finding yourself being more in tune to that individual.
And that's the thing, I think a lot of people don't think about being having those conversations, because women cheat different than men.
Right.
Men can cheat different than women, but when you're having intimate conversations, that could be a form of cheating. I mean, just sharing your inner thoughts and
like I want to go back to school, those type of thoughts, and then having a person to feed that hunger, feed that loneliness, feed that emotional desire, because maybe your partner is not giving you that emotional feedback that you need, affirmation and confirmation on those things that you desire, and you're not getting that with your partner. Therefore, you're seeking, to have ways to communicate with someone else.
No, I think that's perfect. That's reason number one, is that a lot of people cheat because they feel like they're missing something. They feel like that something, they're not getting something out of that relationship. Either it is emotional, because we need to be loved on emotionally, physically, spiritually, mentally. We need all of those things. So when we feel like someone else is falling short of that, a lot of times we'll use that as an avenue to cheat.
What you're saying is that they have a void. So you're trying. So are you saying that a person really cheats because they need a void needs to be fulfilled in that person? And it could be loneliness.
It could be.
And someone is, maybe you're not being you maybe being misunderstood when you're trying to
Mm-hmm.
communicate. It's lack of communication. It's some reason why people would cheat, because if I'm trying to tell you how I feel about something and you're not able to understand my feelings on it and you shut me down, then I go somewhere else to find that confirmation or affirmation from someone else.
That's why it's super important that you establish communication and you really learn your partner. I gotta say this, and I'm veering off a little bit, but I gotta say this. This is why it's super important that when you get into these relationships that you're considering marrying someone, you gotta have counseling and have someone that really talks to you about levels of communication, understanding each other, because communication, I think, is the second thing. Because first of all, you're missing a void, and then when I try to tell you about the void, or I'm telling you in my own form of my communication and you're not hearing it, those are two reasons that a lot of people step outside of relationships, because they feel like something's missing and they feel like you don't understand me.
And then especially when we feel like, when someone don't feel like they're being understood properly,
Yeah.
then they go somewhere else to get that understanding, to get that acceptance, because all of us would like to be accepted, and all of us have a voice, and when we don't have that voice with that significant other, that's when we begin to lose that communication.
Oh man, and that is so important, because how many of you have ever been in a situation you felt like no one was hearing you?
Yeah.
I mean, I think we all can
Yeah.
raise our hand, and when we feel like that, the very first thing we do is shut down.
Shut down, because you said, well, you don't understand what I'm saying, and so you begin to
You don't get
explain,
me. Yeah.
like, no, you don't get me, and
Yeah.
you begin to explain over and over, and in that explanation, we become what? Frustrated, angry, and then we begin to shut down.
Yeah.
And so those are some signs that really, those are some beginning signs of why a person would go to someone else for conversation, being fed, their emotions being fed.
And then it's like you start picking up, so you didn't understand me this time. Okay, this is my closet of frustration and my unforgiveness. It really leads to unforgiveness when you feel like you're not being communicated with. You start putting stuff in your box of, okay, I don't forgive you. He or she does something else. Okay, all right.
And we begin to unknowingly, really
Yeah.
making comparison. Like, well, this person, he
Oh.
listens, he's paying attention, but over here, I'm being shut down. I'm not being paid attention to enough. I'm being misunderstood. And so those emotions began to feed and fester. And so when those emotions being able to be, someone is feeding off of them other than your significant other, that's when your desires begin to change, and also your attitude.
Oh yeah, your complete attitude change. The Bible says don't give the enemy a foothold.
Right, a foothold.
You can't even give him a little bit. You can't give him a millimeter, a centimeter. You can give him nothing, because the enemy will use that and drive
as a doorway to get in. And not only that, and it talks about, like, when you said don't give the enemy a foothold, the enemy knows what you really desire and want.
Oh, yeah.
And so remember, he tells Peter, he said, Peter, Satan desired to sift you as wheat, but I'm praying for you. And so why did Jesus even say that? Because he knew the desire. And so, and a lot of times we have a desire to do better, but we don't. And so what Jesus is saying in that moment, I'm praying for you. You got this, and I know you can do better. But yet and still, we have little temptations dangling at us. And one of those temptations would be your attitude changing, and then other desires began to kick in.
Oh yeah, and the thing is, naturally, you have natural desires. Like, that is, God created us with these natural desires. But when those desires start going towards someone else that you're not committed to, when you start thinking about, you have a funny thought in your head and you don't want to tell your spouse, and you want to
share with the other person,
you on the wrong road. Get off the road.
Yeah,
we saving you tonight. If you're starting to feel that way, like you want to have these intimate conversations, you want to share these thoughts, because you have these funny thoughts. You sometimes you can talk to your spouse or your friend from across the room, and you meet each other's eyes. When you can start having that type of level of communication,
then
with
you
the other,
know that there's something that you need to break.
The line has
No,
already
it
been crossed.
The line's been crossed.
Yeah.
But these are some signs right there that you're already heading for the road of
The
destruction,
wrong
as
direction,
Shay
yeah.
had mentioned, because you want to begin to pull back before you even get to that point. You know, why do people cheat? You want to understand that you can see things going on right before your eyes, and because it feels good, sound good, and look good, we begin to travel down that no good road, I would say.
And I like that. Feel good, look good, seem good, smell good. You know,
Yes,
it comes wrapped up in this package, because the enemy will never test you with anything you don't want.
Exactly, because we'll reject that. Like, you can never get, for example, you cannot give me a box of chocolate. You can't do that. You can't give me a box of chocolate strawberries. I'm just gonna push it away. So that is not gonna tempt me whatsoever.
That's gonna get me.
I will throw it in the trash. But now, if you give me something that I really like, you know, maybe I will accept that. So
Yes.
you got to know me to know what I like.
Mhm.
And so that's how the enemy does. He will put things out in front of you that seems to be familiar to you, to allow you to taste.
And can I say this? Sometimes it's not what you're even looking for.
That's right.
So it's not even a visual thing. They're just filling that void. They're able to communicate with, because I think we've all been in a place, and I'm just trying to keep it real. We have been in a place where we have been attracted to or start liking someone. We say to ourselves, that ain't even my type.
Yes.
That's
you're
not
right.
my type.
But
why am I attracted to him? Why?
Because that's that empty place.
That's the
that
empty
empty space.
filled.
Yeah, that's being fulfilled. You're right. And we do say that person is not my type. However, we find ourselves being drawn to something that's not our type because of that empty feeling, that empty space that we want to be fulfilled, because all of us have desires and all of us have these emotional needs or physical and spiritual needs that we would like to be met. And if we're not getting that from our significant other, we will always or most likely go somewhere else. It may not always be a physical, but normally we're going to go somewhere else for that need to be met.
Drawing. I love that terminology. Look, we got to take a quick break. We have been talking. As you can see, we are super excited to share this tonight. We have realized that we could go like months with this, but we're not going to rush ourselves through this. We're going to talk about this tonight and really shed some light on things, get some healing. We're going to talk all about it. And you know, the infamous Betty Wright.
Betty Wright, yes.
She left us just recently, and so we're going to talk about some Betty Wright things, because Betty Wright.
I grew up on Betty Wright, so look.
Betty Wright told us some things,
yes,
and
we got to talk
about it tonight.
Yes.
So stay tuned. You are listening to Hearts and Heels. We'll be right back. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. We appreciate you guys. Make sure you share. We're talking all about cheating tonight. We're having a great conversation. Shout out to all of you for just joining in this conversation.
Thank you for joining in with us.
Man, tell us some things that you've seen or you've heard, because we know it's not you cheating. So tell us about some things that you've heard and you've seen. Share with us, in relationships, so that we can share on the air and talk about, because we're uncovering this thing.
We want to peel the layers off, so we can get to the root of the problem and be able to start healing from past hurt and past pain.
Yeah.
Because that's the nature of what we're trying to do tonight. When they're like, why do you cheat? So that's a good point.
Yeah, we're trying to get to the bottom of this thing, because the enemy will keep tricking us. He'll keep us in cycles. Even for the person that's being cheated on, he'll keep you in cycles. Even for the person that is the other woman or man, he'll keep us in this cycle
to make it comfortable. And then you'll know years pass, you're still in that same cycle.
Yeah.
So tonight we want to break that cycle tonight by being able to give you steps and give you knowledge on the things that you need and not to cheat, or if you are being cheated on, or if you have been the cheater, some things that we want to expose and deliver you from.
Yes, welcome back to Hearts and Heels. Our radio listeners, you joining in. I'm telling you, you should join us on social media, because we have great conversations. I want to give a shout out to some of our social media viewers: Jackie Henderson, Cherie Booker, Bobby Melton, Kanita Sankey, Cecile Jones, Kimberly Jones, Danielle Love.
Thank you for following
Gina Rogers, Eric Ballard. Those are just a few that I'm able to see. Thank you so much for joining us. Share, invite someone in. Now, we do have a Facebook question from Cecile Jones. Thank you so much. And remember, radio listeners, you can call in at 334-269-6785. We're talking all things cheating and overcoming. But her question was, does upbringing play a part in men cheating?
Oh, that's a good question. Does upbringing, and I mean, that's kind of broad, but let's just say this. I don't think that upbringing brings that about. I think it's the choices that we've decided to make. So, let me just make this reference point. If your father was on drugs, are you going to be on drugs too? That's kind of what I'm thinking you're saying. And so I don't think because you noticed or you saw your father, I'm just going to use this and not trying to nail bash, but you saw your father cheat, therefore you're a cheater. I don't believe that. I believe that when we make wise choices, so everything we do is a choice that we make. And you can be the person to break whatever you saw in the past. So I don't really believe it's your upbringing.
I'm going to have to disagree with you because I think that it does. I think that it plays a part in our psyche. Now, we have some choices. Mm-hmm. I do agree. It is definitely free will. But I do think your upbringing play a lot about your frame of life, your thoughts of life, and how and what you choose to live. So one of the things, as I was preparing for the show, mm-hmm. I was reading about this article, and they were talking about how children are impacted by cheaters, by parents who cheat. And one of the things they talked about was when you break that trust, meaning when dad no longer is Superman in your life, mm-hmm. when mom is no longer Wonder Woman, then your whole perspective of life change. And I love this movie.
And your perspective of life could change, but what about you being different? Because I was raised in an area that I didn't see the man in the home, but that didn't make it. That for me, it didn't say that all men were bad or my dad was bad. It was just that I could break the cycle. So the way I looked and viewed at it was mm-hmm. not so much about, mm-hmm. being in my upbringing. It was about, I'm going to break the cycle. Everything that somebody said about me.
But you had to make that choice. Right. And a lot of people, the easier choice is to perpetuate a habit that is already happening. So, wait a minute. You mean to tell me my daddy cheated, my daddy cheated on my mama, you know what, I'm going to do the same behavior. Because a lot of times, if you think about it, when parents split up like that, some parents will say, well, it's not you, son or daughter.
Right. They'll say that. It's not your fault.
So when you say that, well, whose fault is it? Because they're giving a blame. And so you don't understand how much you are impacting them as a person. And in that moment, you're asking a 6-year-old, an 8-year-old, a 12-year-old, 15-year-old, you're asking them to make an adult decision to say, this is not my path.
And a lot of that is, giving them proper or effective information, communication about that separation, that divorce, or whatever that child has experienced. And hopefully that child will not repeat the same cycle. So again, it would be choices. You got to be intentional about not making some mistakes that you felt that your parents made.
But let's take it deeper. So if you think about it, we're talking about breaking generational curses. We're saying breaking the cycle. You talked about that earlier, breaking the cycle. Mm-hmm. Gina Rogers on social media, hey Gina, she said we are taught behaviors. So
we are.
So this is the thing. If you're being taught that behavior, and now you have to deal with the spiritual stronghold, because in the back of all of this, as we talk about the outside, mm-hmm. we have to remember that there's a spiritual side to everything that we're doing. And if there's spiritual attack on your family, you have to be strong spiritually to overcome.
Mm-hmm. But then if we say that you got to be spiritually overcome that, what do you mean that you got to be spiritually to overcome those attacks? Because surely we do have attacks.
Yeah.
And so how do we break those cycles? And so here's the way that you break the cycle. When spiritual attacks like that come against your family, we have to go, of course, to the Word of God to talk about, when things come up against you. The Word of God says we have to bind things that on earth as the Lord has bound them in heaven. And so, well, what does that mean? Okay, we got to speak those things that be not as they were.
Yeah.
And so that's one. But we're talking about how you when you see things and it's a repetitive cycle, then we got to break it, and we have to be intentional to break those cycles.
You do have to be intentional, but I think, look, we have different opinions. I think that your past has a lot, and it's just a cycle. And I'm gonna use P Diddy only because I know the story. But Puff Daddy, he grew up in poverty set. So he had to make a choice whether he was going to continue that cycle or whether he was going to try to do something different. So I make that very plain reference because I want us to see that as we grow up, we really have to make a choice of what type of lifestyle that we want to live.
Now you just heard Shay say choice again.
I do.
And so,
I think it's a complete choice.
See, that's what I was saying.
But I think it's a complete choice. But I think that your upbringing and what you have seen play a big role in how you respond.
Because one thing, when you see someone in your family and being disrespected from cheating, it does play a big role. But again, how do you grow up with that? Do you grow up saying, I'm going to break that cycle, I would never do that to my partner, my significant other? Or do I do the same things that I've seen in the past with my father, my grandfather, my brother, or whomever? I'm just using as an example. But, so that's, again, it comes back to choices. Because just because my father was on drugs, my brother was on drugs, my uncle, does not mean that I have to be on drugs. Those are some choices that I make, and in making those choices, I don't want to necessarily be in that same environment, or I make a gallant effort in my mind. This is not what I'm gonna do. And so
and I think that follows, because even when you get in the relationship, you still have choices. Let me say this: cheating is unacceptable at all costs.
It is.
And it comes down to a choice. And one of the things that I definitely want us to talk about, a reason why people cheat, is because they use this lame, I'm calling it lame because I think it's super lame. Mm-hmm. When you say, well, I just fell out of love.
Well, you know what? Hey, there are times when people do fall out of love. So what are the reasons why? So, right. that happens. And I've heard people being married for 60-some years and then they get a divorce. And that, for me, I started asking why. And the first thing that I've heard where people say, I fell out of love. And one of the reasons why people fall out of love is that communication is gone. We began to isolate ourselves. You go in your room, I go in my room.
So you didn't fall out of love. You just stopped loving.
You stopped loving. Have you ever been in a place where you just were in a relationship and you just said, I don't like him anymore. I can't stand him. I can't stand, his voice is getting on my nerves. His face is ugly. Have you all
never say that about my husband?
But I'm saying you've been in a relationship before you got married, thinking that, I'm just saying.
Yeah.
But you've been there. And what happened was you began to fall out of love because that communication, something happened in communication was not as effective. And when you begin to fall out of love, you begin to see all those things that you don't like about him. Oh, I can't stand the way he talks. His voice irritates me. I can't, he leaves his towel on the tub and versus hanging it up. We begin to nitpick all those things that we don't like about that person because like you said, we are falling out of love. We don't like them. And one of the first order of business is to like a person too when you're in a relationship. But some of these reasons why a person cheat is because lack of communication. When we're not able to talk. And then when we're not talking, then that the other physical aspect is not as accepted. You don't want them to touch you. Don't touch me, I won't touch you. And then that really draws a wedge between a couple.
And see, I think that love is a choice. I mean, maybe I'm a little crazy. I think that you can choose to love. I think the moment that you stop choosing is the moment that you stop giving attention to whatever. And I say that because, well, and I've said this to everybody. I tell every couple that we minister, look, every day you have to choose. You have to wake up and choose. That's why the Bible says, don't let the sun go down your anger.
That's
because
right.
When the sun go down on your anger, you have time to fester. You have time to think about. You plot and plan. And I can't speak for the men, but I know women. We plot. We plot and we plan. Like this is what's gonna go down tomorrow. I can't believe. You know, we got all these things and we're trying to get payback and all this back. anything back. Well, that's what we're trying to do. So that's why the Bible says, don't let the sun go down your anger, because when you angry, you are separating yourself from love.
And from the possibility of making it right. And so I do live by that word when it says don't let the sun go down on your wrath, because what you're saying is whatever happened that day, you got a new day is about to begin. And so in your new day, don't bring the old things in the new day, but how do we get past some things that we experience? And
I'm
so
still learning how to do that, because sometimes my husband just get it. Like, you got to give me 2 or 3 days. I got to.
You got to give him 2 days. And so what if you need some days when you find your significant other who have cheated? What are some signs that you notice that they have taken interest in another person? And one of those signs is, let me just say this real quick. One of those signs would be that cell phone. When your significant other is on the cell phone and hiding the cell phone, or when it rings, you got to go run and get it. He won't let you touch the cell phone. It becomes a hot commodity to him. That's a tall tale sign of someone is having an outside relationship. So ladies, men, y'all take a note of it. When a person is cheating, that cell phone is the key. Because if you can leave it face up, or anybody can, if he can access your password or leave it open, hey, you good to go. But those are some signs that you need to look for when your significant other is always protecting that cell phone. Because a lot of times, some humans are just not that smart. And so that's not good. So those are some signs that you can tell that we're going off the beaten path with our relationship.
Yes, we do have a comment from one of our listeners, Sister Jackie Henderson. Thank you so much. She said, some cheat for revenge. Ooh.
Oh.
Revenge.
That's a good. You know what? But what do you mean when you say somebody cheat for revenge? It's because they're angry at you and you've cheated and they're getting back at you? If that's the key, that would be. But with that's just kind of unsafe. And so would you want somebody to be vengeful? Somebody would tick for tack. If I do this, then you're going to do that. That wouldn't be even a healthy relationship.
No.
When you're doing something for revenge. You're right.
I think revenge can come in so many other ways, because we don't look at it. But if I feel like you're not there for me, then I tell you what, I'm not going to be there for you. Whatever that is.
That's a good point.
And women, we do that a lot because men are naturally sexual beings. So a lot of times we'll hold out. And women know this. We'll hold out. We'll have headaches. We'll go to sleep. We'll do all this stuff to refrain from doing those things, because we're thinking that we're holding out, because that's our way of just getting away.
Protecting ourselves.
And so the man said, okay, I see you. So since you want to do this, I'm going to do this. Now, it doesn't equal.
Yes.
But to him, it does. And to her, it does.
When you say for revenge. Mm-hmm. Are there any other questions that you have coming up?
Yes, we do have a comment. She said, I don't think you really fall out of love. You still love the individual, but you don't love stuff that they're doing.
And that's
correct.
A good point. That is a good point.
That is correct. I know, Flynn, I would not share all of the bishop. Listen, we got to take a quick break. As we're talking about why do people cheat, we're going deep in. We got some more reasons for you. We got some healing for you. And we got some more Betty Wright coming after the break.
Yes, Betty Wright. Stay tuned.
You listen to Hearts and Hills.
Yeah, but that she makes a good point about that.
She does. She really does. I'm gonna turn up the radio so they can hear the Betty Wright song.
Okay, and so you still have the point that you can say that you don't fall out of love. I did make that comment earlier, and so because you still love that person, but you don't love the act that they're doing. So that does make sense. And so I'm glad you did point that out to us, letting us know that, especially because I made that comment. But you do get to a place that you just don't like a person and you can't stand them, and all the other can't that you do. So that is a valid point that you bring up about that.
Yeah, he frustrates you. You don't like what he's wearing. You don't like
the cologne.
Ooh, I'm so sick of your cologne. Yes.
Yeah.
After this, did you see the one I put in? Y'all say our assistants in the background, Joshua Robinson. Give a shout out to the people.
Joshua, say hello to everybody.
He just want to show you the hand because he ain't got that fresh cut yet. No, I'm just kidding. After we come on, you can turn it down.
So,
do we as women find things because it's what we are looking for? Create things.
What was that?
Okay, Miss Rogers, we're gonna talk about it. top blue book. And welcome
back
to Hearts and Heels. We thought we was gonna have some after the pain for you.
So we're going to work on that, some after the pain.
Yes, after the pain. But tonight we have another question from a Facebook listeners. Thank you so much for joining us. The question is, do we as women find things because it's what we are looking for, or create things in reference to cell phones? Yes.
Yes. You said, do we find things or create things?
Yes.
I mean, what does that mean? I mean, you can't, listen. If someone, we have this intuition that we know that something just not right. And so the cell phone is just one thing that you would notice that he is hiding. The other thing is lack of attention. If he's not giving you that attention, if he ain't trying to, whisper in your ear and play with you like he used to, it's not just one thing. It's several dynamics to this and cheating. No, we don't have to look for it, but you have to have your eyes open and not be and not just think, oh, you cheating on me, not be paranoid. But if a person is cheating, there are tall tale signs of it. The cell phone is one. Lack of attention, lack of him playing with you, lack of him, usually the guy come by and whisper in your ear while you cooking or want to hold on to you. And if you pushing him away, or if he's not doing that anymore, that's a sign. Like, And then the physical performance. If you're not able to perform physically like you used to perform, that's another sign. So we just mentioned one sign, which was a cell phone, but there are other layers to this, and that's a key point.
Well, I think I think it's twofold, because that is a way, but it's also another way. So if you're looking through the cell phone, that's already different. An issue. Well, if
trust.
Yeah, if you're looking in the cell phone, there's already trust broken. So it doesn't even matter at this point whether it's actual true or not, because you're going to try to find something to prove your point that he or she is out doing whatever.
And that's not the point I'm trying to make. The point I'm trying to make, if it's obvious, I wouldn't suggest that you go looking for anything, but I would suggest if you feel something, because we all feel something that ain't right, that, you working late and then you making excuses. You begin to say, the guy began to call you names like, you done picked up a couple pounds, or when you gonna go get your hair done? Those things like that, making comments, and usually your hair could be the same way 5 years ago and he said it was gorgeous, but now all of a sudden he's making excuses and saying it's not. And then he makes excuses not to be around you, like hanging out with the boys, or hanging
I gotta go here, I want to do this, and just don't want to be intimate,
and it's those behavior kind of things that has changed. So you have to watch the behavior of the individual. Has it changed? Usually when you go home, he wants to rub your back while you cook, or sit at the counter and talk to you while you prepare a meal. If he's not doing it anymore and he wants to go be isolated, that is a change. And so those behavior changes, those are some things you need to notice. Not going digging and looking for anything, but those are some tall tale and obvious signs.
Yes. Now another reason that people cheat is self-esteem.
Yeah, low self-esteem.
Sometimes it just has nothing to do with you.
That's right.
Someone has given them a little extra attention. Because I did want us to play one of the songs, because one of the things that I think it's Clean Up Woman by Betty Wright. She talked about, she didn't realize that she was leaving space for the clean up woman. Y'all know the song.
She says making it easy.
Making it easy for the clean up woman to come and do whatever. But sometimes the clean up woman has nothing to do with you.
Nothing.
The clean up man has nothing to do with you. It's just someone attractive. They have seen him or her and said, I'm going after him or her. It is what it is. There are people in this world who say they don't care whether the man or the woman is married. They're going to do everything they can to go and get. And because you put yourself in these positions, whatever those positions are, whether you, because I think I saw this movie one time where the girl said her tire was flat and he came to fix the tire, but she was trying to get something else fixed, and he fell into it. And he fell into the wrong thing. So sometimes it's just that, ooh, this good looking person want me, even though I got this wonderful person at home, this other person want me, and hey.
So how do you move past that? So what you're saying is when you have a person, like you said, that guy came along and the woman, and she was like, hey, that you want me because of this. And it's some of the things that I think we just need to run from is people like that. We have to, our self-esteem has to be higher, or we have to create a moment like, you know what, I don't have time for this.
I think we gotta stop being dumb. I excuse my reference, but we gotta stop being dumb. Men and women, and we call it naive. Okay, we gotta stop that. We gotta stop that. You know, and then as women,
here's the thing though. Let's pause for a moment.
Okay.
When you say you have to stop, remember we're talking about self-esteem though.
Yeah.
So how do we get a person to be confident in who they are? Because you gotta get them to a point, because you can tell me that my self-esteem is lower.
Because your affirmation should be coming from someone else. You looking good, or you feeling, you getting self-worth. Who you're with is your affirmation. Who you're married to, your family, that is your affirmation of who you are, and your beauty or your handsomeness or your self-worth and your respect. Your family should be everything that you need. So just stop. That's what I'm saying. You can't look outward and look in, and then sometimes
you got to look inward.
Yeah.
And then, so what you're saying is that a person needs confidence.
Yeah.
They need to be assured that they are beautiful, they're fearful and wonderfully made. You're saying that they must have confidence and know that they're self-worth. Because once you feel that and you know that about yourself, then therefore nothing can come. People just know Joe Blow can just come to you with foolishness, because you have that self-worth. You're confident in who you are, and you love who you are, no matter what size, or whatever you have going on. It has to be that inner beauty, that inner love, and you have to know your self-worth.
So if you are the spouse of someone who has low self-esteem and you know it, you know that whether your spouse have low self, compliment them.
Build them up.
Compliment them. Tell them. Say,
build that person up. Tell them.
Yeah, that suit looks good on you. Yes, that dress looks good. Oh my gosh, I'm so. And sometimes I tell my husband, thank you so much for working today. just little things to let them know that you appreciate them, you see them, you hear them.
So, are you saying that the people with lack of confidence are more predators, or people prey upon them to get them to cheat? What are you saying about that?
I think it could be both ways. If you lack that confidence, then someone outside of your marriage starts speaking to you, then that's going to start boosting up your confidence, and your confidence is being boosted by someone outside of your marriage and your relationship versus the person that it should be coming from.
That's called a false sense of worthiness.
Yes.
Because that's a false sense. When someone else can come in to build you up and boost you, when that person, your significant other, should be the one to boost you. And how about this? You should be the one to boost yourself up.
Yes.
And so,
but that
can drive you to a side chick or a side dude or whatever. That can drive you to an outside relationship when you are not getting that positive emotional feed from your significant other. It can.
And then it ties really back to childhood things, to things that you always been insecure about. That's why it's important, for those of you who are looking towards marriages or in relationships now, that you start healing yourself, so that these situations won't tempt you. Like if someone come and say, hey, you look good, you won't be tempted. We do have a comment from Facebook. Wanda Best. Hi, Wanda.
Hello, Wanda.
She says, my opinion, partnerships categorized by dissatisfaction, unfulfilling sex, and high conflict are at higher risk for infidelity. Also, the more dissimilar partners are in terms of personality, education level, and other factors, the more likely they are to experience infidelity. I love it.
Let's break pieces up.
Okay.
What was the first part?
She said partnerships categorized by dissatisfaction, where people are not satisfied in a relationship.
And you don't have things that are similar. Is that?
Then what she got, she said that later on. Okay. But this one, she said that categorized by dissatisfaction. That means that people are not happy within the marriage.
Okay.
And you can
in a relationship.
In a relationship that, they're dissatisfied. I completely agree. Mm-hmm. Unfulfilling sex, yes.
But wait, let's break it up before you talk about
Okay.
the unfulfilling sex part. Well, let's talk about what are some things that you're dissatisfied from. What are some things that couples become if you're in a relationship?
I think money is one of the biggest things that people get dissatisfied. Money,
The lack of money.
lack of money, or lack of not being able to spend money, or lack of not giving me whatever it is. Finances usually become a really big part because people disagree on how to do things. And what I found now, a lot of marriages, they keep separate accounts and they do those type of things, so people are not on one accord when it comes to that. So there's
And it
a
depends,
rift.
yeah.
Mhm.
And when you bring up the money issue, yes, but if you all are both have similar jobs or not similar jobs, that can be a point of discussion before the relationship. Because if you're a blue collar worker and I'm a white collar worker, so the income is going to be a little different. It may be a little different, and so that's one of those things that you talk about in counseling.
Actually, I've seen it where they were making the same type of money. It's just that one person has chosen to spend it all,
Yeah.
and one person
any kind of way.
want to save. So there you go, conflict. Dissatisfaction could also be that, you gained a little weight, and I'm no longer attracted to you.
So that's a good point that you bring, because people do become unattracted to those. If you met me, in the relationship, and I was 10 pounds lighter, and now I'm 10 pounds heavier, so you're not attractive. So how do we get past those things? Let's talk about that in the relationship. What was the other thing that she said?
She said, unfulfilling sex. Yes, you gotta be, yeah. It's important. It's a part of marriage.
We say that, and I know being physically attractive to someone, it can be a problem. However, that problem can be worked on. I know some folks that have had that issue, but that was some problems, some things that you can do in order to work on that. When you talk about unfulfilling sex, sometimes, let me just say this about that part, because I need to make this comment. Sex is not always the physical aspect, it's the intimacy of even getting to that point. Because if a person can be intimate with you, like giving you those emotional feeds, massaging your feet, or caressing you and holding you, and before those things are really what we're needing, but we sometimes go straight to sex. And so I think if you were intentional about being intimate, not even with the sex part, that will come, and that satisfaction will come if we don't rush it, if we take our time with it.
So I also think that you have to, when we're talking about sex in relation to marriages, because we're gonna say marriages here. Yeah, we're gonna stick to marriages. When you talk about unfulfilling, a lot of things, I think there's been so much stigma around sex, especially when it comes to young girls, or when I was young, girls having sex, we called all these different names, and people, even the church, let's just be honest.
That's right.
The church has not taken the lead on providing safe spaces to have real discussions about sex. So I think a lot of times that people are in these marriages and they're afraid to have the conversation that, okay, this is no longer satisfying me. I need something else. Let's talk about these different things that we can do. So I think one of the things that you have to do is break down that barrier. Understand that if you've committed as a marriage, because we're talking about marriage folk. If you committed as a marriage couple, then you should be able to have these conversations about intimacy on whatever level that it is, and nobody should be offended.
Yeah, when you talk about not being satisfied because of sexual desire, we can peel back so many layers on that, because I think that, if we think about how we can talk about it, like if you have a partner and you're not being fulfilled in that area, then that's some time that you need to share with that partner. Do you share in the moment of? No, no, you don't do that.
Don't have an
so
attitude.
Yeah, you gotta find a good place to say, hey, can we try this, or what about this? I always want to make sure that I leave space to make room for improvement is what I call. So you do this relationship maintenance and pull your partner aside, pull your husband aside, your spouse aside, and say, hey, these are some things that I'm not really happy about. Don't even say happy. Just some. Can we try this? Can we do this?
Yeah,
and they might want
to.
Yeah, they may want to know why, and just say, hey, I just don't feel as sexy, or hey, I don't feel like I'm at the point of pleasing you. Or so those are some things you can talk about, because we want to keep the fire burning in the bedroom, and not outside the bedroom, like Betty Wright would say.
Not outside.
You don't want to be the cleanup woman. You don't want a cleanup man to come around.
So what we're saying is just basically have some conversations, do some talking about that. And another thing, high conflict, and I guess that means that you're always arguing. Well, so I'm not sure what you mean by high conflict, but let me say this: if it's about arguing, or you're already always at odds, you have to think about why you're at odds. I think that is a personal thing.
That is a personal.
I think
that's a good thing.
Your
too.
past. I think it's some things that you're dealing with, struggling with, and you may be in this moment, this time, and it's really hard for you to communicate that. And I say that because I've been there, where my husband and I, we were arguing all the time, but it really was me, because I was dealing with some things that I didn't understand how to communicate that. And let him know this really has nothing to do with you, but you're just a culprit.
But really, even in that, when you talk about high conflict, if you are not agreeing to something, and what we do naturally, women, we shut down. We shut down from our head all the way down.
Yeah.
You got me, to your waist. And so when we shut down, that's not good. But we got to find out the root cause of that not being able to agree. What is it that's wrong with us? When I say something, you say, when I say white, you say blue. Why aren't we on the same page? And so then we begin to argue about stuff, but really 2 weeks ago you weren't on my same page. You said something
that hurt me in front of somebody.
Yeah, and you didn't, and we didn't address that. A lot of times those small arguments lead to bigger things, and those bigger things lead to him outside the house and not coming home, and all of those affections that you were getting has been lost because of the argument. So let's talk about that. How can we stop and be intimate again? Watching movies together, holding my hand just while we're watching TV, going on a walk.
Thank you so much for our social. Let me ask this question, because I think Cecile Jones was referencing another question. She said, "What if you share and they still do not change?" Were you referring to the sex question? So if so, let us know so we can tackle that. But we got to take a quick break. I know this conversation is really good. Thank you so much for your questions and your comments. To our social media listeners, stay tuned. We'll be right back. You guys are listening to Hearts and Heels.
Yeah, what was that question that she asked? Oh. Yeah, that's good. But now they said, look, party. And then they said, Mr. Charlie is just a man. And he's doing the best he can. Yeah, I like that. Sing, Shay.
Y'all don't want me to sing it. No. I love this song. It's my favorite song. It's my favorite Betty Wright song.
It really is mine too.
Yeah. Okay, we can have it. Though he still do me like he do. So she gonna stay there.
Yeah. Look, sometimes we stay.
After all I've been through,
there's a God up above.
No. God
up above.
Betty, try.
Don't give up.
You know why. Because I love you, Lord, like I do. Y'all know y'all see.
Yeah, y'all know Betty Wright. And I grew up on Betty Wright.
Yeah, that's the question that she was referring to.
Okay, what did you say?
What if you share that you're having issues with sex and they still don't change? Woo!
What now? You said, what do you?
So we were talking about sex, openly communicating with them that, you sexually, you're not satisfying me. These are some things that we need to talk about. I think you have to do the thing. What is it called? So a lot of times when it comes to communication, people communicate with you the way they want to be communicated with. Meaning that I love to give this example. My husband, I'm a person of acts. I need people to love me through acts. So when my husband go get gas, I'm like, ooh, thank you, Lord. He went to get gas. So I do things that's that's action towards him because I need him to do things action towards me. You. So there may be in sex, if you had those conversations, you might need to try some different things.
It says, wait, what if Sharon, they still are not changing? And that's what you were saying, but let me say this.
You about to tell the men secrets. We're going to have to get Bishop Rod on here next week.
But even then, if he's not changing and you made some comments, you told him, and he's not changing, kind of like start writing things down. If he's not changing, you may not be in a monogamous relationship. So I'm just saying that's a sign. If you have let him know about that you're not being pleased sexually and he hasn't changed, he's not trying to make an effort, one thing I could suggest is he might need a physical exam. I'm just telling you. And the other thing is that he may be spending some time elsewhere. Now, I'm just throwing that out there. I'm not a counselor, but I feel like I can be. That's something that you probably want to start making a chart of. Every time you're being persistent about having a sexual relationship and they're turning you off and they're not changing, start writing it on your calendar. And I promise you, you're going to find out some things. So make some notes.
So, yeah, that's her advice. My advice is do to him or her what you want him or her to do to you, because people respond that way, because you make them feel a little bit different. Now, Bishop Rod said this. He said, God talks to Israel about going and whoring after other gods. This indicates to us that there are always false things, a.k.a. other people who attempt to fill a void that can only be filled by God. Having a void in a relationship creates opportunities for others to capitalize on the vulnerability that is already present.
That is so powerful.
I mean, he said a lot.
That's very powerful and very profound. And we mentioned that earlier about when you have that void, you begin to pursue those other things that are false. And I think we talked about those false narratives that we will have because somebody said, oh, I like that dress and you look gorgeous. Yeah. And then your significant other you woke up with and didn't even notice you, or didn't notice that your hair color changed, or didn't notice that you lost 10 pounds. Yeah. But somebody outside of the relationship has noticed that and knows those false narratives that we create in our mind, and we think it's okay, and somebody begin to give us those compliments and we go goo goo gaga and begin to walk in that direction. And so what he just said was so true, that when they had those false gods created, then they were easily they were very vulnerable. So you have to be able to feed yourself. Yeah. Love and loving yourself and being emotionally loving yourself and satisfied. And then it's okay to tell your spouse, it's okay to tell your partner, hey, I'm not feeling love lately. And I think that's a good sign, a very mature sign, to say, I need some attention. Because I'll tell you, I need some attention. We need to do something. Can we have fun day, play day? Because that's my thing. My words are, I need play day. I will give you all the affirmation you need. Like, great job. I love the way you cut the grass. I love the way, you took care of the kids and put them to sleep. I love you for doing that. And so some guys, they need that. Can I use the word ego?
Oh, yeah.
They need to.
That's that respect.
Right.
Yeah, they need to feel respect.
And then at the same time, if I'm not getting attention, I'm like, I feel lonely. I feel sad. I need your love.
I bet you pout, don't you?
I do. Could you see that?
Yes, I'm a pouter too.
Yeah, I just need your. And so we're talking about, what's some reason why people cheat and the side chicks and side dudes, but we also want to be aware.
We hadn't got to half of the stuff we want to get to.
We're going to have to come back.
Yes. You guys got to come back next week as we continue this conversation. I do want to talk about, sometimes people don't feel committed. They don't feel, they don't know how to commit. Because I was reading this and I was really shocked that a lot of people just say they're not born to be committed.
Wow.
So if you're not born to be committed, don't get married. Let me help you.
Yeah, I'm just saying, if you're not born to be in a committed relationship, then I want to know, do you have a job? You know, like, because commitment is profound, and it's very profound for me.
And it's really a beautiful thing, and it's really a lot of work. It is a lot of relationships are not easy. They're wonderful, they're beautiful, they produce great things, but relationships take the work, and it really takes you putting your full self. Like you
commitment, let me just give a definition of what I think a commitment is.
Please.
Commitment is staying the course, working out any kinks and to make it better. Commitment means that you're in it to win it. You in it for the love of it. You in it forever. And so commitment is a strong word. And so I believe that those are some words that I believe commitment is.
What is the marriage vow? I love you to rich or poor, better.
For sickness and health, and to death do us part.
Yeah.
And so those are some committed words. Like, are you going to love me when I'm sick? Are you going to love me when I'm, not doing good? Are you going to love me now because I have money? Or are you going to love me when I may not have any money? And so those words, commitments, are very powerful. And that's that's a vow. And so just because I've lost my job, do you pick up the stuff and leave? No. So, commitment is really that I'm going to stay in it for the long haul. I'm going to do all I can to work things out. When I've done all I can, they say, when you do all you can, just stand. Now, when I do all I can, it takes two in a relationship to stand. So if I'm doing all the work and you're not doing anything, I don't know what to tell you. I'm not gonna say anything what I'm really thinking. But commitment is a very strong word, and a word that we could really embark upon in a relationship. But if a person comes to you and say, I'm not looking for any committed relationship, get out, run, go ahead, because they're gonna waste your time, and you don't want to be somewhere for 11 years and you realize that you've been in a relationship but that person was not committed.
Yeah.
And Shane,
That's a lot. And those sexual desires will take you to that place. And I do want to share this really quickly. So a biblical reference that you can look at, of course, is David and his viewing on the rooftop,
Bathsheba.
he was taking a good look. He took a long look. He took several good looks.
Well, he's probably taking more looks before he took that last long good look and said, hey, because they're predators, so that he was looking a long time.
He was looking a long time, and because he looked away, so I'm gonna admonish those who are feeling like temptation is on the rise, for those who are dealing with this issue, the one who is thinking about cheating, and it looks good, but know that once you make that decision, it's a lot of things that can transpire, and then stop looking to the other side and really remember what you have.
What Shay is saying, this is simply saying the grass is not greener on the other side, because where you standing is holy ground. Where you standing is fertile. Where you standing is life. Where you standing is abundancy. So when you look on the other side, it's no greater. So where you are is the best place. And so if I had, was it Johnny Taylor was singing "It's Cheaper to Keep Her"? Listen to that song. And just since we're playing Betty Wright, I just want to add that.
You want to add that one too?
That one.
Listen, next week we're going to continue this conversation, because we got to talk about, the people the third party in this relationship. Mm-hmm. We got to talk about that, and then we got to talk about those who have been cheated on, and we're going to help you heal through this hurt. We are talking this through. We are talking about it because we have got to get rid of this stigma and stop closing doors, stop covering things up. We are uncovering. We're dealing with everything: sex, love, marriage.
And we want to also dismantle the myth. Once a cheater, always a cheater. Because we may be talking to someone out there that's been in a relationship that someone has cheated on you and you're still with that person. And so I want to dispel that myth as well on next week. So be sure you tune in next week.
Yes, we're tuning in. Thank you so much for our social media listeners. I do want to say this, that Wanda Bass, thank you so much. She said the consequences are huge. And Sister Jackie Henderson said the word love equals commitment.
That's right.
Thank you so much for sharing that. You guys have been great today. We thank you so much for all the comments. Now, why do people cheat? This is the series we're talking about it. Come back next week. We're going to talk about the third party, what I call the side chicks and side dudes. We're going to talk about it next week. We're bringing in some elements. We just want to share and uncover some things. Grab your friends. Tell them to come back and listen to us next week. Now, have a healed kind of week. Living 6 inches above the enemy, and whatever you do it with all your heart. See you guys next week. Same station, same time, same love. It's all love here at Hearts and Heels. Y'all hear the thing? Oh, we got through the episode. Yes, that was so much fun. Thank you guys for the comments.
Thank you for commenting.
Yes, you guys made this show really great. We really appreciate it. So make sure you come back next week. Y'all hear things song?
It's all about love, the love language. We're going to have to talk about that. That's a good point, Wanda. That's a good point.
Sir, will you go turn it down to the very top knob in there?
Great show, ladies.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
You guys were great. Wanda, I got to get back with you. We got to have you back on the show soon.
Thank you.
You guys were wonderful. We appreciate all the very top one at the end. On the board. I'm directing our assistant on things. Shout out to all of you for being great. Yes.
Thank you so much. We love the comments.
Yes, we do. Make sure you share this video with someone. Let them know. Message them. Send it to them in text message so we can start hearing and talk about this thing.
Follow us also on Instagram. Yes. So Hearts and Heels 1.
And we're getting us a YouTube page.
Yes.
And we got some new things coming up. Yolanda Kelly is here. We thank God for her and just the energy that she's bringing to the show. So let us know. Hit me up and let us know what you're feeling, what you're thinking about. The show and where we're going. We're excited about what's coming, and Hearts and Heels. We just keep going higher, guys. See you next week.
6 inches.